What are the key elements from the device perspective?
The design is very important. The performance in terms of battery is very important. A current phone that we are launching, can you guess what's the battery?
55, 6500.
So Tarun, this phone has a 2 days no need to charge.
Hi, welcome back to Counterpoint Conversations. I'm your host Tarun Pathak, and today we are going to discuss a very important market that is rewriting its rule on its own, India's smartphone market. And to discuss that, we have a very special guest who has seen technology up and close from the stages of MWC to the retail heartlands of Bharat, Mr. Arijeet Talapatra. Arijit, welcome. So let us dive straightway into an important topic, which is India's smartphone market. The 2025 was a pivotal year. We started with a very positive news on the tax from government of India, and then after that we had like tariffs hitting the market, and then suddenly in Q3 we saw market coming back up, and then in Q4 memory prices turned. So we had this topsy-turvy year in 2025. How do you look at the market from the overall macro sentiments what we have seen in the past 1 year?
Tarun, today actually is a great day. Yesterday we had the tariffs from 50% to 18%. It's a great news for India. The FTA with Europe, FTA with UK, FTA with Australia. So India moving in the right direction. See, what is really happening is the entire manufacturing supply chain is now establishing itself completely in India. So now we are not only making for 1.45 billion consumers of India. Going forward, we will made in India, made by Indians, but made for the world. This will also have a big employment opportunity in India. And with so many things coming in AI, India earlier was and is number one in IT. But India as an IT company was mostly working for the overseas companies or overseas countries. Now AI in India will work for this 1.45 billion consumer. So huge opportunity in terms of manufacturing, in terms of AI, in terms of supply chain. So the future is really going to be wow for India. But yeah, in terms of the smartphone market, times are difficult because memory prices are moving quarter on quarter like crazy. And it's not like it's going to stop in the near future, entire 26. And who knows better than you? Maybe 27 also, we are going to face the heat. So a lot of things are going to change. So according to me, the entire industry from the volume will eventually shift to revenue and ASP growth.
Okay, so there's a clearly a value shift that is happening.
Yeah.
And that is more from the industry, what we have seen, the ASP is rising up. And you are someone who is connected to the consumers very closely, like you have seen them up close, understanding their habits and the trends. What is the consumption pattern look like when they are looking at on smartphones if they have to purchase someone in tier 2 and tier 3? How does it look like and evolving going forward?
The consumers are changing. Good part is India has a very, very young consumer base, 68% less than 28 years of age. And whether they're in a metro or a tier 5, tier 6, tier 4, everywhere aspirations are very high. But one very good thing is now they're going on reliability, not only a novelty. Earlier it was a couple of specs which are very good to talk about, but now they are talking about a battery which has to be very good, a design has to be great, and it has to be a rugged phone.
Right.
So that is so important. And in spite of having a big battery, it has to be a very sleek phone because when they after roti kapda makan, it is the phone and you're always holding it in your hand. So you need a high performance phone, but it should be very light. And that is what they are working on. They want reliability over novelty.
I think you mentioned couple of points very important, like from the consumer's perspective. Like for example, when we look at our research, like 40% of the smartphone decision making is being done by Gen Zs of all the phones that are being sold. And then we look at the evolving spec sheet, right? Earlier, the decision was happening on the paper, like all the spec, and then you mentioned the experience, what is happening. What are the key elements from the device perspective that's been evolved? Like, for example, you mentioned battery. So let's deep dive into some of these and see how the trends are shaping and changing in that direction.
If you see a answer today, why I talk about reliability is RAM, ROM, there is not too much of differentiation. 6128 is somewhat a basic now. 6128, 8256, 12512. The industry is revolving around that. So, what is the differentiation? The differentiation is how big is your battery, but how beautiful is your phone. The design is very important. The performance in terms of battery is very important. And then you need to understand also one thing, that be it a sleek design, but it has to be a body which is like a tank. That even if it falls down, because people take phones to various places, so if it falls, nothing should happen to the phone. Performance, design. Also, one thing is very important. The world talks about AI, AI, AI. But whether the AI is just a gimmick or it's a real, true, practical AI. Because now the Gen Zs are very, very smart. They understand what is a gimmick and what is a true value for them.
Right. Right. And that is important because as a user, Indians are spending close to like 5.7 hours every day on their boyhood. And these different elements of the hardware matter a lot. So we talk about battery, and then again, you raise an important point. Fitting that battery in that particular form factor is always been a challenging, right? And we have seen industry moving to a silicon carbide. Yeah. As something reflected in your portfolio, especially from the techno perspective, how we see this trend go?
We always have been very, very keen and care in terms of the battery performance. Like if I talk about the current phone that we are launching, the POA Curve 2, this one. Yeah. Can you guess what's the battery? You can feel the phone.
Should be somewhere 55, 6500 in this form factor.
So Tarun, this phone has a 8000 mAh battery, and it also has a drop test wherein it's a tank-like body and it has cleared the NMS drop test where even if it drops from a particular height, nothing will happen to it. And look at the spacecraft design.
Yeah, it looks very pleasing to the eye. And especially that you said 8000 mAh is like the industry average is 50 to 100 mAh right now.
195 grams, 7.42 mm. So if you see this phone like this, a 7.42 mm phone, 195 grams. So if you're holding this phone, and nowadays everybody does not want to carry a power bank, use this phone, take as much pictures, have as many con call, meetings, 2 days, no need to charge.
Right. Very, very impressive. And I believe this is one of the phone that is going to be launched. It yet to be launched. And the other element you mentioned, which is again very interesting, is the design and it. Now, smartphones are more or less an extension of one's own identity, right? So whenever we put it in front of the how you look at the design language evolving from the consumer's perspective, especially in different price tiers, because India is such a diverse market. Different price tier has different kind of preference in terms of the design and other elements to it.
One very, very important aspect of youth is they never believe in me too. Everybody wants to be different. Everybody has to have own style. But if you see most of the phones, the rear of the phone, maybe the battery panel is little differentiated for all of them. And then it's only the colors. There is no other differentiation. So with the POA series, what we are really, really working on is how can we change the pack of the phone. Okay. In terms of reliability over novelty, we are always there. We are always one up. But then it's not only reliability at the cost of flaunting that, I don't have a beautiful phone. So it is a reliable phone, but you hold the phone, it feels so good. The spacecraft, engineering, the big battery, the camera, everything is so, so well connected in the phone that the consumer, once he touches it, they love it.
Yeah. And that's something like we are going from a lot of this spec driven phones towards more of an experience. Yes. And which brings me to another part of the conversation. We have seen these evolving consumer preferences, and one of the area what we have seen in the past year is this resurgence of the mainline retail, right? Yes. And consumers want to have a look and feel of the product before they are going to spend because the ASP is going up. The average ASP of the market is close to like 22, 23,000 rupees. How important is that channel for you as a brand for Techno to connect with the Narcissistant? Or
For Techno, we are a completely offline driven brand. It's not that we don't focus in online. We are there in online, we are there in modern trade chains. But for us, the retailers are the most important. And in terms of pricing, we just spoke about the memory price going up. But good part about India is the affordability. The finance options have done a brilliant job. Yes. And even if you go to a tier 4, tier 5 market, you get finance. And so recently I went to a village in Rajasthan, 8,600 population. He sells around 80, 85 phones. He has all the finance banks. Wow. All the finance, Home Credit, SDB, Bajaj. Very good. And he's already started talking about Punewara. So a village in Rajasthan, 8,600 population. Consumers, the youth, for them, phone, good morning to good night. A phone is always with them. So the prices have moved from maybe 15, 16K to 20, 25K. So the industry will move primarily, the main price segment will be from 20 to 30K. ASPs are also increasing. And this entire industry will be a revenue driven industry. But in the current context, 26 and 27, the affordability is also going to be a very different.
especially with the memory price. Yes. So again, very great examples. If we look at bulk of this growth, because from the volume perspective, India market has been more or less stable since 2022, right? 153, 154 million a year. But when we go into these markets, the market you just mentioned, the very interesting trend happening. Like people are consuming a lot of content, but at the same time creating a lot of content with their posts. Have you seen that trend and how your devices are actually being the enablers for this big trend that is happening? Is the creators economy. Like we have more than 100 million creators in India, and it's very young, aspirational one. We have seen that announcement in the budget as well, right? So how do you see that community evolving and empowering through your device?
Recently, India will host the AI summit.
Yes, on the
So, yeah, so that is already, I was reading, more than 3.5 lakh registrations have happened. Yes. So many people interested. And what is really happening is now when we do any launch or any activity around marketing, we don't only believe in the national KOLs. We go to all regional KOLs. The retailers do a lot of each retailer. Like recently, I went to Indore. One of the retailers, his follower is almost 7 million followers. So 7 billion on Instagram. So once they promote something in their own language, because India is all about diversity. You move 100 kilometers, the language speak it changes, the food changes. 200 kilometers, the God changes.
yeah.
So that is how India is, unity in diversity. But the regional KONs, and for them a phone is very important, the battery, and if you are using a battery for a longer period, how is the AI optimization happening? How many languages do you have in the phone? AI does not mean you only need to be in English. You need to be in many regional languages. And also, we only talk about youth. Suppose my grandmother wants to call me, and I'm a Bengali. Speaks in Bangla and say, please contact Arijeet on a WhatsApp video call in Bengali on the phone will. So that is how you connect the rural with urban and with the youth and the elder. Because communication, we are a family country, we are family net country, we are very closely bond country wherein family is also very important.
Which means very regional centric use cases. See, and I agree to the point, like, because AI for us, we talk in a very technical language, but for a lot of these users, it's getting things done in a much simpler way, uh, and not necessarily happening on the device or on the plot. Just get the job done and build up on that. So we have seen battery, we have seen the design, how important it is. AI is getting a lot of mind share on that. But for devices, once consumers get hold of those devices, after sales is another very important point. Someone has purchased a device in, let's say, the market you mentioned, Jaipur, remote areas. How does the after sales service look like? Any trends over there, and especially in respect to your brand?
And then very, very good question, Darul. Even I remember when I was young, there was one of the automobile company advertisement. We are also present in Ladakh. So that gives so much confidence to the consumer. Kalkir is our partner for service, and we have more than 1,200 service centers across India. Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Arunachal to Gujarat, Andaman, Lakshadweep, everywhere we have a service network. So service is very important. And India growing in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Signal is also very important. Because what happens is, so this I closely work with Airtel, Jio and all. So when I speak to consumer, the consumer says, सर सिग्नल फोन के साथ तो क्या है वो तो एयरटेल या जियो डिसाइड करता है
For granted.
हाँ इट्स फॉर ग्रांटेड दैट द ऑपरेटर्स सिग्नल मींस द ऑपरेटर
Has no
has
play in.
no play no play but now that is not true this phone this category first phone this has triple chipset and two chipset are only for network
Okay, enhancing the
yeah enhancing network this price segment we are giving 20 banks 20 bands means wherever you grow pan India globally your phone will always be connected. And even when you are offline, if you are scrolling, there is no problem. Offline scrolling, you can do. In no network, you can speak through UPS. That is what POVA has. So a triple chipset,
Yeah.
8000 mAh battery, amazing design, curved display. So it has all the attributes which talks about novelty.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about novelty. We say it's reliable. Novelty is for granted for us because youth, if there is no novelty, they will not buy. But what is extra? That is, it is reliable.
And especially when they are extending that device life cycle by almost like 3 to 4 years. Want to use it for almost like 48 months now, which used to be like every people are upgrading every now and then, which is again a very important parameter to look at it. I think again coming back to that signal point, I think this is again very important for a lot of deep growth economy, right? People are on the move in the lifts, right? And especially for someone who had been traveling a lot, we have seen a lot of people in India started traveling a lot. So a good connectivity is always is something we take for granted, but I think it's very, very important at the pivotal moment. So good to hear on that. Now coming back to 2026 and 2027, I think in the downstream, upstream, we are seeing a lot of pressure on the value side because of the memory and the component pricing rising. What are the steps you think the industry is largely taking? Because on one side you have consumer cohort that wants like more from their device. Given a choice, they would like forever battery, great design, performance, everything else. But then you have this a lot of pressure coming from the supply chain. How to balance it out going forward and manage expectations?
Very good question. And 26 a difficult one as well.
For everyone.
Yeah, or everyone. Because the memory prices are shooting like crazy. Because all the memories are going to the AI companies. And this is going to stay. So what really is going to happen is the prices are going to increase for everybody. But once the prices increase, the consumers need to be very clear that brand that they choose has to have something extra in it. It is just not that you are paying XX extra because the memory prices have increased. Then the consumers will not take it. They will say, oh, my previous phone, this phone, is it sleeker? Oh, it's sleeker. Battery, much bigger. Design, much better. Signal, 20 bands. The brand you're taking has huge service network, a huge retail network. So all these things, it's not one or two, it's a mixture of everything. And then it is all about low net worth, good design, good battery, amazing performance, practical AI, that you're speaking to LI in different languages, you are doing meetings, you have a summarization very fast. your battery optimization, camera optimization, all these things. So camera also starts knowing you and thinks what you want and bases that it AI is a partner, ally is a partner.
Yeah.
So if the consumer believes in that partner, that one of the brands talk about that, hey, something, but now we talk about, Ella, do this for me. Ella, mere liye ye kar do. In regional languages, because we want to understand India consumer more. And we say we are a global company, we are a global company, more than 110 countries, but our R&D, our market intelligence, all are completely localized. We want to understand what a consumer deep inside Bihar wants, and we want to deliver that.
Okay, very interesting. So, which is like getting more value of the devices will continue. Consumer is not like much linked about the memory and all. It's the industry problem that they need to solve. I think that is what is happening globally now with the pressures mounting up. But again, good point. Understanding the consumers and helping them to get more of the devices is something which every OEM will look into going into 2026 and in fact 27. Because as per Counterpoint Research Memory Tracker, Q1 2026, there will be another 50% increase in memory prices. We're seeing a prolongated extension of this cycle and something which we are keeping a very close eye on. And again, going back into the next section, which is also the concluding section of our podcast, uh, we wanted to understand, like, in terms of the overall macroeconomic situation. You started the podcast with the a good example of what we have seen yesterday with US, then FTA with Europe. How we look at India from it's the second largest market in the world. Premium market is not 20% of the overall segment. People are buying those phones on financing. But going forward, if you have to like pin down three of the trends apart from the supply chain, from a consumer perspective, because you understand that area really, really well, because as a brand you are connected to that. What would be that for a larger industry, like from the consumer perspective, what are the trends we are going to see?
One very clear trend is how you can work on the practical AI, and you can keep on adding something, understanding the consumer, and not only understanding one set of consumer. Okay, because India, so many languages, very very diverse. You have to work on practical AI, which is very important. Also, since we are a huge country, we really have to work on the signal part. So with OVA curve 2, it is actually signal 2.0 that we are doing with a 20 band thing. One more thing very important is entire manufacturing that you're doing in the supply chain that's coming in India is also helping build the entire component ecosystem in India, and whatever goes in your phone, the quality and other things are completely in control. Because as you said, the phone from 24 to 30 months has moved to 36 to 42 months. And also with the memory price increasing, once a consumer buys a phone, he will not just because some new phone has come, he will just change the phone. Because India is a growing country, GDP growing 7.3%, but still per capita around 28, 2900. Affordability is still a question mark.
Right.
So they need to have a phone which is reliable, which they can easily continue for 42 months. But when they continue after 24 to 42, he should not feel I am carrying this phone because I don't have enough money to buy another. He says, I love this phone. Why do I need to change it? So the design that you are launching today should be good enough for another 36 to 42 months. So for a brand, you have to see 3 years ahead. And in 3 years, after 3 years, if the consumer wants to leave the phone, he should be sad about it. That, oh, I love this phone. Maybe I may keep this as my second phone because technology
Yeah.
keeps on changing. But you have to think 3 years beyond what it is now because the consumer is going to use it.
I think I like the interesting point. Like most of the time when hardware manufacturers they look at battery should extend to 4 years or something like this. Camera should go up, but the design should also extend to next 3 years, 4 years. That's a very important and a very interesting point as well, because normally you don't look at the CMF to last that longer because You have the wear and tear of the phone, that edge is scratching up and all, which is good. So again, fascinating conversation, Arijit, as always. Pleasure to have you on the show and meeting you. I think the key takeaways are memory pricing are going to increase, that is going to stay, but understanding consumer and giving them more value is something more important in 2026 and 2027. That's it from today's Counterpoint conversation. Thank you and stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks a lot.